Welcome to our deep dive today.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at this really fascinating intersection of healthcare, education, and human connection. We've got a really diverse set of sources for you.
Yeah.
We're pulling from academic research, personal stories from those working in these fields,
Yeah.
and even a little bit of ancient mythology.
I know, right?
It might
It's
seem
an odd mix.
like an odd mix at first.
Yeah.
But what's so compelling is how these different viewpoints, the theoretical, the anecdotal, and the practical, all come together to reveal these deep connections between healthcare and education.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all kind of intuitively sense that connection, but today we're going to really unpack it.
Yeah.
Especially in our modern world, which feels so technologically advanced,
Right.
yet often struggles with genuine human connection.
That's the thing, isn't it?
It's a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can video chat with someone across the globe in an instant, yet rates of anxiety and depression are still climbing.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if all this tech is actually bringing us closer together or pushing us further apart.
That is the question.
That's a great point.
So.
And one of our sources, Maria Julia Paes da Silva, argues that the key to bridging that gap lies in rediscovering the power of love as care.
Love is care. Okay.
Not just romantic love, but that deeper sense of empathy and compassion for others.
Yeah.
And to illustrate this, she points to a rather unexpected source. The myth of Baucis and Philemon from Ovid's Metamorphoses.
Okay, cool.
Now, I know some folks might be thinking mythology in a deep dive about healthcare and education.
I can hear them now.
But bear with us because this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Baucis and Philemon were this elderly couple known for their incredible hospitality.
Oh, yeah.
They welcomed strangers, even gods in disguise, into their humble home with open arms and selfless love.
So selfless.
It's a powerful image, right?
It is.
And Silva argues that this spirit of radical hospitality, of seeing the inherent worth and dignity in every person, should be at the heart of how we approach both healthcare and education.
I like that.
It's about recognizing the divine in each person we encounter, whether it's a patient, a student, or a colleague.
Right, right.
And that's a tall order in a world that's so focused on efficiency, data points, and standardized testing.
Oh, for sure.
But if we lose sight of that human element, what are we really left with?
Yeah.
Just a bunch of systems and protocols?
Exactly.
Right.
No real heart.
No. And this is where our sources start to delve into the importance of communication.
Okay.
Not just the words we speak, but the unspoken language of nonverbal cues. Silva actually compares human communication to an iceberg.
Okay, I love a good analogy.
I was going to say, there we go.
So how does this iceberg idea play out in communication?
All right, so imagine the tip of the iceberg. Okay.
That's the verbal part, the actual words we say.
Right.
But below the surface, there's this vast hidden mass.
Okay.
It's the nonverbal realm.
Right.
It's our body language, our tone of voice, our facial expressions, our use of space, even the simple act of touch.
Oh, wow.
All of that.
So you're saying those nonverbal cues often carry more weight than the words themselves?
Absolutely. I mean,
oh, wow.
Think about a time you felt misunderstood by someone, even though they were saying all the right things.
Right.
Chances are their body language or tone of voice was sending a different message.
Makes sense.
Right.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And this has huge implications for both healthcare and education.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
I mean, how often do we miss those subtle cues because we're so focused on the information we're trying to convey?
All the time.
All the time, right.
Yeah.
And that's why Silva stresses the need to become more attuned to those nonverbal cues, to really see and hear the person in front of us, not just the patient or the student.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like we need to become detectives of human emotion, using those nonverbal clues to piece together the whole story.
That's a great way to put it.
Because only then can we truly understand what someone is communicating.
Right.
Even if they can't articulate it in words.
Even if they don't say it.
And this brings us to another fascinating concept from our sources.
Okay.
The idea of work alive versus work dead.
Ooh. Work alive, work dead. Okay.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yep.
Tell me more about this work alive and work dead business.
Okay.
What exactly do these terms mean, and how do they relate to healthcare and education?
So these concepts were introduced by Franco and Mary,
Okay.
and they're especially relevant to healthcare, where the balance between a purely technical approach
Right.
and a more relational, patient-centered one is constantly being negotiated.
I'm guessing work dead isn't the approach we're aiming for.
Probably not.
Oh.
Work dead represents a kind of robotic reliance on pre-existing knowledge, procedures, and technology. It's going through the motions, following the script,
right,
without really engaging with the individual patient's unique experience.
It sounds incredibly impersonal and even dehumanizing.
Yeah, I can see that.
And Franco and Mary contrast this with Work Alive, where the healthcare professional actively engages with the patient's narrative, their individual needs, and their subjective experience of illness. So Work Alive is about bringing that human element back into the equation.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's about recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all solution, and that the patient's perspective is essential in developing a truly effective care plan.
Right.
It's about seeing the person behind the diagnosis, not just the disease itself.
Exactly.
And they use this great example of treating chronic pain.
Right.
A work-dead approach might involve solely focusing on prescribing medication or ordering tests based on a general understanding of the condition.
Right. Just based on...
But Work Alive takes it a step further. So instead of just treating the symptoms, you're digging deeper to understand the root cause of the pain.
Yeah.
And not just the physical root cause, but the emotional and psychological components as well.
Yeah.
A Work Alive practitioner would take the time to understand the patient's unique experience of pain, their fears and anxieties, their personal goals for treatment.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how this applies to education as well.
I was going to say, this sounds familiar.
I mean, how often do we treat students as just empty vessels waiting to be filled with knowledge?
Oh, yeah.
Rather than complex individuals with their own unique learning styles and needs.
It happens all the time.
It's a common pitfall, unfortunately.
It is.
And that's why this concept of Work Alive is so relevant to both fields. It's about moving beyond a purely technical approach and embracing a more holistic, human-centered perspective.
Yeah.
It's about bringing that spark of life back into our work, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of each person we encounter.
I love it.
And this focus on Work Alive naturally leads us to question the dominance of the biomedical model in healthcare education.
Oh.
Several of our sources raise concerns about the limitations of a purely scientific, objective approach to understanding human health and suffering. I can see how that could become problematic. It's like we've become so focused on the biological mechanisms of disease that we've forgotten about the person experiencing that disease.
The person behind the disease.
Right. Their emotions, their social context, their spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
All these factors play a role in their overall well-being.
Absolutely.
And if we ignore those factors, we're only treating part of the person, not the whole.
Not the whole person, exactly.
And our sources highlight the potential for disillusionment and burnout among healthcare professionals. If they solely focus on the technical aspects of care, it makes sense. It's like trying to solve a math problem without understanding the human story behind the numbers.
I like that.
You might get the right answer, but you've missed the point entirely.
Yes, totally.
Exactly.
Okay.
And our sources are calling for a shift towards alternative models of care that acknowledge the complexities of the human experience, models that value the patient's narrative, their subjective experience of illness, and the importance of the therapeutic relationship. It's about moving beyond treating the disease and embracing a more holistic approach that considers the whole person.
Exactly it, yeah.
Now, what stands out to you about this idea? How do you think healthcare education could be transformed to better prepare professionals for this more human-centered approach?
That is a really good question.
Those are great questions.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. But before we dive into that, I think we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive.
Can't wait.
Okay, so we're back. And before the break, we were talking about the need for a more human-centered approach in healthcare. But it seems like our sources are suggesting we need a similar shift in education as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they argue that we need to move beyond this narrow focus on academic achievement and standardized testing and create educational environments that nurture personal growth, self-discovery, and a sense of purpose.
I think a lot of people would agree with that, but
Yeah.
it's easier said than done. How do we actually make that shift happen in a system that's so entrenched in traditional methods?
Well, our sources offer some really inspiring examples of alternative pedagogical approaches.
Okay.
One that stood out to me is the Mostra Scientifica program,
Okay.
which encourages students to engage with real-world societal issues.
So it's not just about learning facts and figures in isolation,
Right.
but actually applying that knowledge to make a difference in the community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Students in this program conduct research, analyze data, and then present their findings to the public. It's a hands-on experiential approach that empowers them to become active citizens and problem solvers.
That's fantastic. It seems like this program really taps into that innate desire we all have to contribute to something larger than ourselves.
That's right. And it shows that education can be so much more than just rote memorization and test taking.
Right.
It can be a powerful tool for personal growth and social transformation.
Okay, so we've got these big picture ideas about shifting towards more human-centered approaches in healthcare and education. But one of our sources also dives into a really specific example that I found fascinating.
Oh.
It involves two young students,
Right.
one from a wealthy background and the other from a less privileged community.
Okay.
And what's so striking is that both students were ultimately diagnosed with the same thing, intestinal worms. It makes you realize how easy it is to jump to conclusions about behavior or academic performance without considering the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a classic example of the iceberg analogy we were talking about earlier.
Oh, there we go.
We see the symptoms above the surface,
Right.
the behavioral issues, the academic struggles, but we miss the root cause hidden beneath.
Right, exactly.
And in this case, the solution wasn't punishment or academic intervention, but a simple medical treatment that addressed the underlying physical issue.
Wow.
Exactly. And once that was resolved, both students thrived.
That's great.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective,
Yeah.
and that addressing the underlying needs of the whole person, physical, emotional, social, is essential for creating a truly supportive and nurturing learning environment.
I like that.
So how do we create those supportive environments? Our sources point to some specific pedagogical approaches, and one that caught my eye is the spiral curriculum.
Oh, the spiral curriculum.
It sounds kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
What's the idea behind that?
It's a fascinating approach that emphasizes the cyclical nature of learning.
Okay.
Instead of this linear step-by-step progression
Right.
that we often associate with traditional education,
Yeah.
the spiral curriculum recognizes that we often need to revisit concepts multiple times,
Okay.
each time, building upon our previous understanding and integrating new perspectives.
It's like the way a spiral staircase ascends, circling back on itself, but always reaching new heights.
That's a great analogy. I like that.
And this approach encourages active exploration, experimentation, and self-discovery.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that learning isn't just about acquiring knowledge. It's about developing critical thinking skills, problem-solving abilities, and a lifelong love of learning.
That's so important. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And our sources also highlight the importance of creating learning environments that foster collaboration, creativity, and a sense of community.
Oh, for sure.
One of them describes their experience with a program called APEACE,
Okay.
Active and Participatory Education for Health.
E-piece?
APEACE brought together healthcare professionals from different disciplines
Right.
to explore alternative approaches to teaching and learning. They used interactive methods like video prompts, group discussions, and reflective writing exercises.
Interesting.
It sounds like they created a dynamic learning community where participants could really challenge their assumptions and discover new ways of thinking and working together.
So important.
And one of the key takeaways from APEACE was the importance of embracing uncertainty.
Embracing uncertainty.
That can be a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in fields like healthcare and education,
Right.
where we're often trained to seek out the right answer.
We want to know for sure.
It's a natural tendency, but the APEACE participants found that by acknowledging the inherent uncertainty of complex situations and being open to multiple perspectives, they could actually deepen their understanding and come up with more creative and effective solutions.
Interesting.
It's about shifting from a mindset of knowing to a mindset of learning.
I love that, yeah.
And that requires a certain level of humility, a willingness to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers,
Right.
and that there's always more to learn.
For sure.
Which brings us back to the importance of personal growth and self-awareness.
Okay.
One of our sources, a healthcare professional reflecting on their career, makes this really thought-provoking statement.
Right.
The more specialized and educated we become, the less human we are.
Ooh, that's interesting.
What do you think they meant by that?
I think they're warning us about the danger of becoming so focused on the technical aspects of our work that we lose sight of the human element, both within ourselves and within those we serve.
It's like we get so caught up in the data, the diagnoses, the procedures, that we forget there's a human being with feelings, experiences, and a unique story behind all of that.
Right, exactly.
And our sources argue that to truly care for others, we need to first cultivate that capacity for care within ourselves.
I like that, yeah.
It's about recognizing our own humanity, our own vulnerabilities, and our own need for connection.
That's powerful.
And that brings us to the crucial role of self-care.
Yes.
If we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not tending to our own emotional and spiritual well-being, it's impossible to show up fully for others.
That's so true.
We're operating from a place of depletion,
Yeah.
and that inevitably impacts the quality of care we provide.
Absolutely.
One of our sources uses this beautiful metaphor, talking about the need to access our own kingdom.
Access our own kingdom.
That sounds intriguing. What do they mean by accessing our own kingdom?
They're referring to this inner reservoir of wisdom, strength, and compassion that we all possess. It's that place of deep knowing and connection that we can tap into to replenish ourselves and fuel our capacity for care.
So it's like remembering that we have this inner source of resilience and that it's up to us to nurture it and draw upon it when we need it.
Exactly.
And to access that kingdom. Our sources suggest cultivating practices that nourish our emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. Things like mindfulness, meditation, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, pursuing creative endeavors. These all help us reconnect with that sense of wholeness and purpose. And when we're operating from that place of wholeness, our interactions with others become more authentic, more compassionate, and more transformative.
Absolutely.
We're not just going through the motions, we're bringing our full selves to the encounter. It's like the difference between offering a handshake and offering a warm embrace. Both gestures convey connection, but the embrace offers a deeper level of intimacy and support.
I like that. That's good.
That's a beautiful analogy.
It is.
And I think it highlights the essence of what we're talking about here. It's about recognizing that true care, whether it's in healthcare or education or any other aspect of life, requires us to bring our full presence and compassion to the encounter.
Absolutely.
And that ability to connect deeply with others, to see their humanity and offer genuine care, is essential for creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued.
I agree.
It's about nurturing the human spirit in all its complexity and beauty.
That's beautiful.
I think that's a powerful message to carry with us as we move into the final part of our deep dive.
For sure.
So we've been talking about this need for a more human-centered approach in both healthcare and education. But it seems like our sources are also acknowledging that making this kind of systemic change isn't easy.
Yeah, it can definitely feel like an uphill battle.
Especially when you're working within institutions that are resistant to change.
Oh, absolutely.
One of our sources, a healthcare professional, actually describes the current system as a sick patient.
Oh, wow.
In need of care itself.
That's powerful.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
What do you think they mean by that?
Well, I think they're highlighting how the focus on efficiency and standardization, while important, can sometimes lead to a dehumanizing experience for both patients and providers. It's like the system itself is suffering from compassion fatigue.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Losing sight of its core purpose in the pursuit of metrics and outcomes.
Exactly.
And I imagine it takes a lot of courage to challenge those deeply ingrained ways of thinking and doing things.
Oh, for sure.
It does.
Yeah.
This source talks about the importance of finding your tribe.
Your tribe.
Connecting with like-minded individuals who share your values
Right.
and can offer support and encouragement.
It's like your support system.
Yeah, because it can be incredibly isolating to try to create change in a system that's resistant to it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like trying to swim upstream against a powerful current.
Yeah.
You need that sense of community, that shared vision to keep you moving forward.
For sure.
Exactly. And this source also emphasizes the importance of staying true to your own values.
Yeah.
even when it feels like you're the only one.
That could be our.
They share this powerful quote.
Okay.
In a land of fugitives, the one who walks in the opposite direction appears to be fleeing.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most courageous act is to stand firm in your convictions,
Yeah.
even when everyone else seems to be heading in a different direction.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this source's story is a testament to the power of perseverance.
Huh?
They talk about the importance of celebrating small victories,
Right.
those incremental steps that pave the way for larger shifts in perspective and practice.
I love that.
It's like planting seeds, knowing that some will take root and blossom.
Even if others wither away,
Right.
but you keep planting anyway because you believe in the possibility of a more vibrant and fruitful future.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
And the source reminds us that the journey of creating change is rarely linear or straightforward.
Definitely not.
There will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt.
For sure.
But the key is to stay committed to the vision, to keep learning and growing, and to surround yourself with a community of support.
Yes, so important.
It's like that spiral curriculum we discussed earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
Always circling back, revisiting ideas,
Right.
integrating new perspectives, and ultimately reaching new heights of understanding and impact.
I love that.
Precisely. And this source's story highlights the importance of embracing that cyclical nature of learning and growth.
Yeah.
Recognizing that even our failures can be valuable teachers
That's so true.
if we're willing to learn from them.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
What are some of the key takeaways that resonate with you the most?
you know, for me, it's the power of human connection. It's about remembering that whether we're working in healthcare, education, or any other field,
Right.
our interactions with others have the potential to be transformative.
Yeah.
It's not enough to simply treat diseases or impart knowledge.
Right.
We need to create spaces where people feel seen, heard, and valued.
I completely agree. And this deep dive has given us so many practical suggestions for how to do that.
Yeah.
Whether it's embracing the power of storytelling,
Right.
challenging the status quo, prioritizing self-care,
Yeah.
or simply remembering to see the whole person behind the diagnosis or the academic record.
Yeah.
These insights can help us create a more compassionate and humane world.
For sure.
You know, one of our sources said something that really stuck with me.
Okay.
It's not the technique that gives meaning, but the connection with others.
Oh, I love that.
It's a powerful reminder that our shared humanity is the foundation for creating truly meaningful experiences in all aspects of life.
That's beautiful.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And on that note,
Okay.
we'd like to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
All right.
What is the most compelling story you've encountered in your own life or work that highlights this interconnectedness of care, learning, and human connection?
That's a good one.
Reflect on that story
Yeah.
and consider how its wisdom might guide your own journey toward a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
This was a good one.
We hope you found it as enriching and inspiring as we have.
Yeah, for sure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep caring.
Well, I love it. I love it.